I'm at a loss to that. I need to know more about that. I know you and I would love to ask specific questions about stuff like that if there was the opportunity.
People would answer, right?
But there's not a lot of opportunity for these types of questions, and you kind of wonder behind the scenes, like, is this the stuff that's actually being hashed out right now?
Well, therein lies the problem. You see why both sides would be gun shy on a deal. You see why John Fisher would say, hey, you guys didn't want our term sheet. You made your own, and your term sheet said you were paying for the offsite fund.
Right.
So now you're asking me to pay for it? No, thank you.
No, that is a factor.
You would see why the city would say, well, we have X amount of grants, but we don't have quite enough, or maybe we've raised enough, but we don't know if the price is going to go even higher down the road. And if we agree and we say yes, and then all of a sudden the price explodes again, what happens to our taxpayers? What happens to our general fund? So right. I think you could see why both sides would be afraid to make a deal at this point. And, I think maybe that limited obligation bond or some type of bond they could create would at least protect them from the overages. Also, like, let's be honest, construction. I mean, I've done it on my house. You've done construction on your house. And It doesn't always end up the cost they think it is.
Never.
And let's just say they think they have all the money, then they get in the ground and something else pops up. Right. Well, then they got a whole other can of worms. And so I could see the hesitation on both sides.
You want to make sure when you start a project of this magnitude that, number one, if you start construction, you will finish construction. There will not be anything that gets in your way, either environmentally or financially. Number two, you just don't want to get, if you're the City of Oakland, and they've already declared this, I recognize it and I fully agree. They don't want to eventually have to be held responsible for the final stretch, finishing up the final amount. And I don't think that's unreasonable of them to ask that, of them to demand that. So it's a lot of T's and a lot of I's to cross and dot here. And I think that's been a part of the equation, but maybe that's not the entire part of why we're still here going around in circles.